All right, so 4437. All right, so we're going to get started. Before we do, I'm just going to go ahead and point you in the direction of the last message I gave to you through announcement. So if you come to the home page, you'll see that there's this latest announcement called the Growth Mindset Survey. Well, I am now authorized to collect data from all students. So I'm able to help or ask you to participate because you've all had growth mindset strategies provided to you through your SLS class, all right, as well as you've had OER because even through SLS you didn't have to pay for a book and you were given a book and everything, so you had open educational resources available to you during that class. So that means you qualify for my research study as long as, of course, then you're over 18 as well as not dual enrolled. So if you click on here under the announcement, you'll find that you can watch a small review of the way I conducted or set up the survey. I introduce myself and then, of course, go over some of the things that are part of the research study. And then, of course, this is just an introduction. You know, if you participate in the study, all right, these are the requirements for how you can participate. And this survey is maybe 20 something questions, but it's really fast. It moves. The average is 5 minutes to complete this. So you click on here. I can't click on it because otherwise it'll take me to the survey. But you click on it and you elect whether or not you wish to participate in an interview. All right, you complete the growth mindset questionnaire. I said that it lasts between 8 to 10 minutes. I mean, I'm finding on average it's about 5 minutes, but I put the maximum number of minutes. And then choose whether or not you want to participate in an interview. If you do choose to participate in an interview, you need to kind of remember the answers you provide in your questionnaire because I need to recapture them in the contact information so I can measure your understanding before I take an interview. So if you desire to participate, I'd appreciate it if you did, but there's no me pushing you into it. It's you make a choice of whether or not you want to participate. All right, and if you need a little bit more understanding about what growth mindset is, I have a very powerful presentation here that I'd ask that you review and that you participate in. Just to get to understand what growth mindset is before conducting the survey or otherwise interview. All right, especially the interview because I want informed students. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ask that you do that. All right. So let me see what else. Okay, so let me get to Alex and then let's get started here. . 4437. So what we're going to be doing today is 3-2 and 3-3. That's what's on the agenda. 3-2 moves very quick. It's the same thing we've done in 3-1. All right, it says, at what height above the planet's surface is the temperature 0 degrees Celsius? Well, 0 degrees Celsius, it says what temperature. If you look at it, this right here, the temperature is 40 degrees Celsius here. Well, at 0 degrees would be here, so that's 5 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. So we put 5. Choose a statement that best describes the height and the temperature as they're related. And then so as the height increases, the temperature decreases. This is kind of like what you think about when you're on a plane, right? When you go up in a plane, it has to be pressurized and the temperature needs to be controlled because it's very, very cold up 30 something odd thousand feet up in the air. All right. So that's chilling. And so it's very cold up there. So as the height increases, the temperature definitely decreases. And at the rate of what temperature we look at it, it goes from 40 to 32 after 1 kilometer of height. So we're looking at then it dropping 8 degrees Celsius. Now it says Yolanda bought 16 books. Yolanda bought 2 times as many books as Jose. All right. So let N be the number of books that Jose bought. So then we say that Yolanda, all right, bought so many books and she bought 16. All right. And then it's 2 times as many as Jose bought. All right. So we look at it that way as an equation to represent that. And now, so that means that Jose bought not 8 books because 2 times 8 is 16. Caitlin plans to watch 2 movies each month. Write an equation that represents the total number of movies N that she would watch in M months. So N, the number of movies that she would watch, is equal to 2 times the number of months that go by because she's watching 2 movies each month. Now, that's rather low in my opinion. I mean, 2 movies in a month. Wow. Okay. So that's the equation that we would use to represent that. Now, Tammy wrapped 21 gifts. Tammy wrapped 3 times as many gifts as Juan. Now, let G be the number of gifts that Juan wrapped. So we would say that Tammy, just like the other one, wrapped 21, and this is 3 times as many as Juan. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then G represents 7 because 7 times 3 is 21. So these are pretty straightforward. And then the last one, it says, what is the amount of water in the aquarium at 0 minutes? Now, 0 minutes is right here. No time has passed, so it's 600 liters. And then choose the statement that best describes the tank's amount of water. So as the time increases, the aquarium is losing water, right? It's being drained. So it's depleting, and it's going down by 120 liters per minute. Because all we do is look at the difference after 1 minute. It goes from 600 to 480. All right, and that's all that's for that lesson, 3.2. 3.2 is pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I think that you find that to be straightforward. All right, now let's take a look at 3.3. Now 3.3 is all about equations, right? So we're going to be looking at solving and equations in terms of, oh geez, I pushed the wrong button. All right, let me get some more light in here. All right, okay, get this set up. Now, when looking at this kind of a question, right, you can do substitution if you wanted to, right? But I'm not going to. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, well, what does X have to be to make this be a solution? That's the way I'm looking at it. So what does x have to be? Well, it's simple. Just divide both sides by 2 and solve for x has to be 7 in order to be a solution. So I look at this and say, well, 9 is not a solution, 4 is not a solution, 7 is, and 2 is not. And I'm done. That's how fast that moves. I mean, yes, you can go ahead and do it old school and plug it in and do all that stuff, but that's just nonsense, in my opinion, for this particular situation. So in this case, I would do the same thing. I would go ahead and take and write down my problem. And then I would solve for it. So solving for it, I would subtract 3 from both sides. And then divide both sides by 9. And find my answer to be x has to be -1. So because I found x has to be -1, that means 4 would be no, -1 would be yes, 9 would be no, and -3 would be no. So no, yes, no, no, done. That is a quick way of doing it. And that's what they basically are asking us to do here in all these, is to solve for it. So we would go ahead and do what we have to do to get the variable by itself. And that is, in this case, we would add 4 to both sides. By adding 4 to 6, we get 10, and there's our answer. So 10 minus 4 is 6. We can go ahead and do back substitution as well. All right, in this case, we'd have to go ahead and add 2 to both sides. And then we would get -3. So these move very quick. All right. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, just let me know. I'm doing opposite operations. Whatever's happening to the variable, I'm undoing it so I can get it by itself. Now, it doesn't matter what side it's on, if it's on the left or the right, the same process continues. So since we're adding 8, we're going to subtract 8. And that leaves us with -17 equals y. Of course, I'm doing this pretty quick because I can add and subtract in my head, can I? And you need to know your integer rules. And if you don't, you have your trusted calculator. All right, but that's a good practice to do it in, do some mental math. Now, sometimes you can't do it. I mean, it's just too hard. Some of it is too big and all that stuff. Here with this one, I have a strategy to show you that is interesting. Now, whenever you have a variable like this that's negative, we want that variable to be positive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle and bring it over to the other side, and circle this and bring it to the other side. And when I do that, I get v equals 106 minus 221. Now, like I said, sometimes you don't want to do the big numbers in your head, so you can grab your calculator and just take 106 minus 221, and you can get your answer pretty quick, all right? It's -115. So you don't have to sit there and try to do everything mentally. So we're going to go ahead and do -115. And likewise, we would go ahead and see, you don't even need to go ahead and write a lot of this down. I mean, of course, I've already showed you how to do it, writing it down, but see, I would just take and be a little bit mindless in this, but I know I'm adding to that value on the other side, the 8.7. So I'm going to go ahead and add 8.7 to that value, not even thinking about what I'm doing. I'm letting the calculator do it. It'd be 1346. And then likewise, the same thing. If I wanted to do it, I just take the 65 and divide it by 5, and then that would give me my answer of 13. Well, we knew that 5 times 12 is 60, and we knew it would be 13. However, again, if you don't know that, then you just take your calculator and just plug it in. As long as you know the opposite operation of multiplication is division, then you're going to go ahead and just simply take the value of whatever it is on the other side, the 17.5, and divide it by the 7, and you're going to get 2.5. And that's what they're helping you understand and recognize is that you're seeing that you have to do opposite operations. Now, with these kind of problems, I'm going to go ahead and showcase the simple way I show a lot of students, and they appreciate it. With fractions involved like this, they intimidate a lot of students. And what I tell students is to go ahead and whatever's in the denominator, multiply that to this number. In other words, you're multiplying both sides by the denominator. But all I gotta do is say, take your calculator and do 15 times 8. Write that down. And when you do, multiply by the denominator, and the denominator goes away from this side. That leaves us then with just simply dividing both sides by -5. And we take our calculator, divide it by -5. And then we have our answer of -24. So we'd have our answer, -24. So that is really a simple way of approaching it. And most students would agree that that's the easiest approach that they would have to killing fractions. Otherwise, you can take and do the multiplicative inverse, and that is multiply both sides by this. But you can see that that looks a little bit intimidating. Now you got to realize that this is over 1, that this, then you have to reduce this by 5, and then you have to multiply it out and get the -24. Well, I could have done that as quickly as I just did. Most of you couldn't. You get intimidated. You don't know what to do. You get confused. You just get. It's just hard. I mean, so the thing is, I don't want to complicate this. Okay, so I choose to just show you a simple way of doing it. So now, what I see here when we're looking at this kind of problem right here is that we're going to go ahead and mentally just take. I'll write it down. We got to get our y's together, and we got to get our numbers together. So the y's going to come together, and then the numbers come together. So what I'm going to do is mentally take and subtract 15 from both sides, because I want this to go away. So 15 taken away from 17 is going to give me 2 y's. All right. So that means I'm done with the y's. Now I'm going to go ahead and also subtract 20 from both sides and get -26. See, so I'm not writing anything down. I'm doing that mentally. All right. And then I'm going to get the answer of -13. All right. So we have, and you can use your calculator if you can't do that right. But I mean, most of these I could do in my head. But that's how you strategize for that. Now, it's overwhelming to go ahead and write everything down. Watch. If I write this all down, I go like this. And I do this. That looks like a lot of stuff, and it looks really now confusing. It looks intimidating when you see all this stuff written. Now, some students write it over and over again. Like they'll write down, oh, subtracting 15 from both sides, and then leave the 20 and the -6. It just becomes such a long process, and you get frustrated, and you start making mistakes. All right, now this one right here, we go ahead and take and subtract 5 from both sides. Get -18. And then go ahead and divide both sides by 3. And you continue on. You can see this is starting to get a little repetitive. So we divide both sides by -3 and get 4. Because negative divided by negative is positive. Just remember that stuff. And then you get into the fractions again. So look at this. I'm not even going to write anything down. So what I'm going to do is take 42 and then times that by 7, hit equal, and then divide key 6. And then I'm done. There's my answer, 49. I don't even have to write a single thing down. As long as I know the process of how it works, I multiply and then divide by that. I mean, it's so easy. Multiply the 7, divide by the 6. That's it. It's really, really simple in that case. Dividing by 6, I get -2. All right, now with this one, all right, I have a strategy for you. All right, see, I love my strategies, they work. Now, when I taught this, this is called proportions, all right, as you can read there, it says following proportion. Now, with proportions, you can watch or look at a lot of different approaches, but, oh, well, actually, there's a couple different approaches, but anyway, they'll talk about setting cross products equal to one another. Well, I'm not going to teach it that way. I'm going to tell you that all you got to do is cross multiply the two numbers that are diagonal from each other. Cross multiply these two, and then swing around, and then divide by the number that you haven't used to equal the number that you need. So if you look at this, it looks kind of like a fish. And the way I look at it is that there's a multiplication symbol, and because we got to divide, let's turn this into a division symbol. All right, that's the division symbol. And if you look at it from a perspective of the fishy method, is what I'm going to call this, it looks like a fish with a little dimple. All right, now if you can remember the fishy method, then all you got to do is just cross multiply and divide. So I take my calculator, I take, all right, 7 times 5, because that's the multiplication, hit it equals, and then divide key, because that's what's next, 13. And then I get my answer. Round to the nearest tenth, that would be 2.7. All right, that's what you're looking at, 2.7. I know it's hard to read before. All right. So in that case then, all right, if I'm looking at this, then I would take 8 times 17, hit equals, and then divide by 13, the number that hasn't been used. So it'd be 10.5. Now, in this case, all right, we have to go ahead and be forced to do this derivative property. And what that means is multiply 5 times b, get 5e, and multiply 5 times -3 and get -15. And then we're back to what we did up in here. It's kind of like this problem. All right. So then we can go ahead and subtract 5 these from both sides and subtract 3 from both sides, and then answer our given problem of -9. So that's what we're looking for this particular problem. All right, this is the proportions. So 9 times 4 is 36. 36 divided by 12 is 3. Some of them you can do in your head, right? But now this one, before doing the distributive property, right? Before doing that, see if you can go into the other side. I was going to mention that here, but 5 does not go into 7 or 3. So I just, if it doesn't go into both of them, by the way, you can't do what I'm about to do here. Now with this particular problem, you could do distributive property, but you can also divide both sides by 3 first, because 3 goes into 39 13 times, right? So we're going to do that. And now I go ahead and add 5 to both sides. and divide by 3. All right, so then that's our answer. All right, so again, you just take a calculator, do 13 times 9 divided by 7, get 16.7. And in this case right here, okay, they are a scenario, all right, where they say Sugar Sweet Company is going to transport its sugar to market. It will cost $4,500 to rent trucks plus $175 for each ton of sugar transported. The cost of the sugar is defined by the following equation. It says, what is the total cost of transporting 14 tons? Now, with that we just got to go ahead and take the equation of 4,500, all right, 4,500, and then add to that 175 times 14. And we get our answer of 69.50. Now we go ahead and say, well, what if the cost was 85.25? How many tons did the company transport? So if you have 85.25, all right, you would go ahead and take the 85.25. I'm going to make sure it's 85.25. All right, and you go ahead and subtract 4,500 equals, and then divide it by 175. And that's 23. So follow with what I did. And if what I just did is confusing, take a look at my recording, because I will have this recorded for you. And I'll do another problem with you, because that's really simple, and this could potentially be a test question. All right, so again, all I got to do is take 28 times 5 equal plus 77. All right, and write that down, 217. Now, what is the hours if I have $413? So take 413 and subtract 77 equals, and then go ahead and divide that by 28. And we get 12. So you can see I didn't have to write down a single thing. All right, I'm following a structure of approach to it, though. So all you got to do here is take 0.2 times 30 equals plus 825 and get 1425. And that is the last question that we had. Okay. So that completes this lesson on both the two lessons that we're responsible for. All right. Now, next week, we'll not have class. All right. Next week is spring break. So we will take a little break. And if you can, please complete the survey. And if you wish to take and complete an interview, I'll be trying to interview students next week. All right. So that way I can get that. I have so far 2 people that signed up. So I'd appreciate it if you are interested. All right. So are there any questions? All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.